Hey everyone, I want to clarify the difference between moderating and mediating variables because I know this can get tricky and confusing. So when we talk about moderator variables, we're talking about variables that affect the relationship between two other variables. So for instance, we have variable A, and variable A is harsh physical discipline. And we know variable A can contribute to the development of disruptive behavior problems in children later. That's variable B, disruptive behavior problems. However, the relationship is not always so straightforward. So sometimes that relationship gets moderated or affected by a third variable. So in this case, a moderator variable might be something like ethnicity. So we know that from research that white preschoolers who experience harsh physical discipline actually are at increased risk for problems later on as teenagers. But we don't really see this risk play out with black preschoolers. So in this example, ethnicity is a moderating variable. Another example, we know there's a relationship between stress and illness. Okay, those are our two, variable A and variable B. We know that when someone's under more stress, they are at increased risk for more illness. However, a moderating variable in this case might be something like social support. So under conditions of high stress, if someone has a strong social support network, that can be protective and it can actually reduce the impact of stress on illness. Therefore, social support is a moderator variable. In general, moderator variables tend to be categorical in nature, meaning they're things like age, gender, race, what we think of as kind of the big categories. And this needs to be differentiated from mediator variables, and mediator variables account for the relationship between two other variables. So, for example, researchers have noticed that children who have overly controlling and demanding parents, variable A, are prone to depression later on, variable B. The question is how? How does over controlling and demanding parents lead to depression later on? And what they have found is that these children tend to develop very high levels of what we call perfectionism. And perfectionism is actually what predicts children's depressive symptoms later on. So in that example, perfectionism is the mediating variable. It's the it's the variable that explains the relationship between style of parenting and depressive symptoms later on. Hope that makes sense. Hope that clarifies any confusion.